Sometimes no matter how well you play, you just can't win a game. And what you truly need is some hard carry agents. So we're gonna break down the best 5 that you should consider if you want to give yourself the easiest time climbing to Ascendant, Immortal, or even Radiant. But speaking of missing out, let me tell you about SkillCapped with our 5-division rank up guarantee. Imagine going to a gym and you got your money back if you didn't end up completely ripped. That's exactly what this is. We have new courses every month, over 1,000 guides, and over 50 courses no one can compare. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you're serious about improving, and let's get right into the video. Now, the first character on the list is a character that is often overlooked, but really strong, especially in ranked play. We have Brimstone. This double caked up controller is an incredibly consistent agent to play, and even though he doesn't feel like he's the most flashy character, he statistically has some of the highest win rates in most ranks of play. First off, he's a controller, where there's a lot of times you're just not even going to get one, and having one on your team already gives you a huge advantage. And oftentimes, if you get a bad controller, they're putting giant cracks in their smoke, not smoking at the right times, or just completely lurking around the map and throwing the game even worse than if you didn't even have a freaking controller. So sometimes you got to put that sky pad on and just say, fine, I'll do it myself. In addition to that, there are very few characters that can stall as much as Brimstone can, and one of the most common strategies in most ranks of play is players just rush. They just int a site, like 5-man rush a site, dump a whole bunch of utility, and push through, right? And this just works most of the time because people aren't properly responding with utility. People will trade out, but then they'll get spiked down, and they'll just win because the rest of your team is in retake simulator. And this happens all the freaking time, but the secret is if you can stop a rush that is made in any low elo or low rank of play, you are dramatically increasing your chances of winning that round by like a landslide, because their strategy is kind of monkey brain down to let's ooga booga 5-man rush, and you're like, no, you're not. I'm gonna smoke and I'm gonna molly, and you're not going to do anything. And if you want to hit, you're going to have to go really slow. If you want to rotate off, good luck, because most of the time they're not even going to do that correctly. I mean, how many times in your game have you told your team to stop rushing and rotate, and then only half of them rotate? Or like during the rotation, someone flanks you, or for whatever reason, your entire team used every bit of utility they had in the first rush that was stopped, and then they don't have it for the other push on the other side. There's just a million situations where all you have to do is deny that rush, and you're getting so much freaking value, and Brimstone can do that incredibly easily. And we already know how strong learning lineups is, but it kind of feels daunting to try to learn just so many damn lineups, especially when they're all over the place and you don't know the best ones. But that's why we have already done the work for you, where we have a compilation of the best 100 lineups in the Brimstone playbook that you can use and just start winning free matches. And it's really simple for you, so that you could easily incorporate it into your play style and start winning games for free. Now, the next agent that we actually got to talk about is Fade, and I do think that Fade oftentimes gets overlooked when compared to a lot of the other initiators, which they're good, of course, but there's a lot of things about Fade that is super good as a solo carry agent that gives her a ton of extra solo impact, and the first one is her Prowler. While Recon Drone and Skydog can be somewhat more reliable when you have the coordination of a team, Prowler is a superior ability the majority of the time when you are reliant on you and you alone. It's also an incredibly efficient weapon at clearing close corridors, so you're no longer going to die to stuff like judges, shorties, or just any of the random stuff that you'll get when people are just trying to win a cheeky round by hiding in a smoke or crouching around a corner. In addition to that, Fade has the ability to overwhelm in a way that a lot of other characters can't, by throwing her eye, simultaneously combining it with the Prowler. Then her ultimate is just an insanely powerful rush tool, and it can just be used to win a 1v1 as well. Fade gives you everything that you need, whether it's information, clearing, or controlling space, and she has excellent stall abilities as well, giving her the same power that I talked about with Brimstone. So really, this is a fantastic character, and definitely one of the hardest carry solo agents in the game. Now, the next character that we definitely got to talk about is Cypher, a character that I think always gets overlooked compared to Killjoy, but really shouldn't, because especially if we're talking about anything underneath the Ascendant rank, Cypher is an absolute monster. And there's several reasons for this, but the big one is the lack of people clearing your utility. One of the things that really hurts Cypher, especially as we get closer to pro play and super high ranks of play, is everyone spends the time to properly clear all of Cypher's utilities. They're spraying all around, they're checking for camera spots, they're using silver darts to clean out certain potential tripwires. And they're basically doing their due diligence to deny what you have, because they know that if they run out and they don't clear you properly and they run into a tripwire and then they get caged off and killed from who knows where, they're gonna be really freaking pissed, right? And you're gonna be able to do that to a lot of people that are just not doing what the high rank players are doing. So in addition to just stopping a ton of rushes or just getting free kills because people aren't respecting you, Cypher also gets to lurk better than most characters in the game. This is because using your utility, you can effectively start to push up and cut off certain rotation patterns, which gives you more information about where the enemy is. So like if you're lurking through the sewers on Split and the enemy is all set up in a certain location, let's say they're all playing freaking A default, you can cut that off with tripwires that they don't know about. And then if they rotate back through, you're just sitting there ready to potentially kill them. And if they actually commit to site, you get to lurk and be ready to flank them like right away. And you're also gathering more and more information as you do this, so you can coordinate to your team and say, hey, they are definitely going A, like they're not rotating off, I know that for a fact. And you can listen and use information cues to gather all this. And that's one of the reasons why Cypher is not only just an amazing staller, but an amazing lurker. And the reason that coordinates so well together is because now enemies are super afraid of rotating off, right? They think every time they don't commit, they are going to get destroyed by a Cypher on the lurk. And every time they full commit, they're gonna full commit into a Cypher utility. So they're kind of trapped between a rock and a hard place. And as you start to pop off more, your impact over the lobby becomes higher and higher, and it becomes really, really frustrating to deal with you, which is a really great thing. Now the next character are for those of you who just want to turn off your brain, click every head, and just hard carry. And it's a character that if you can do those things, you can hard carry more than just about any other agent in the game, and that's Reyna. Now, there are a lot of things about Reyna that are fairly simple, right? You're going to be challenging a lot of angles, you're going to be trying to hit a lot of consistent headshots, and you are going to be trying to rack up kills. But it's important to understand that you almost have to do these things to justify playing Reyna, because unlike other characters, Reyna doesn't offer a ton of utility. Her Leer is fairly good for challenging certain angles and helping your team rush, but outside of that, you are not providing round-based utility that is going to help your team strategically win the round. Your entire kit is connected to your ability to frag out. This means that you cannot run into a game as Reyna if you are not absolutely warm at the top of your game. So if you're feeling tired and a little bit out of it, if you just hopped on and you are not warmed up mechanically, you need to do everything you can to wake yourself up, get yourself mechanically unrusted, and be ready to pop up every single game, because you're gonna be like, hey, I'm losing all these games, and even though I pop off on all these other games, you have to pop off every single time. That's like a necessary on Reyna. You have to get all those kills, and even then, there are still things that you can do strategically on top of that in order to have an even higher carry potential. There's actually a bunch of nuance that goes into dominating on Reyna, and it's not that hard though if you really know what you're doing. And that's why we go over it all in our brand new Reyna course, where we isolate every concept that you actually need to climb in about 10 minutes. So make sure to check it out in the links down below. Now on the flip side, the last character that I do want to talk about is a character that is both good at just pub stomping and a character that is really good strategically, and it's Jett. And what I would really suggest you, if you want to pop off and solo carry on Jett, is be flexible in the play styles that you incorporate. There are several things that you always want to do, and there's other things that you want to change depending on the team or how the enemy team is playing. Let me give you an example. Jett often wants to take space on point. She wants to dash into her smoke on point and basically clear certain angles for her team and take space on point, allowing her team to kind of funnel in, right? And this is something that Jetts do in high ranks of play, and it's something that Jetts will do in pro play as well. But if you are doing this and your team isn't going with you, if you are doing this, getting a kill and no one's pushing out with you, if you are being denied because the enemy is all turtling up and playing with a ton of defensive utility, then you need to change up how you're approaching that engagement. It's important to understand that Jetts do that because it works and it brings value, but it's not something that you should just keep doing over and over again if it's not working. You could be like, hey, what the hell? You're not helping me. And you could get these like cool brownie points when you're just like complaining to your team about you playing the right way and they playing the wrong way. But at the end of the day, y'all all lose the same, okay? It doesn't matter who was right and wrong. your goal is to carry. Your goal is to win at all costs. And sometimes that means playing not in the way that you know is objectively right, because there's other factors that you cannot control that would need to be filled in order for your play to actually be the correct one in your game. Now, I'm definitely not suggesting you to just permalurk and never help your team, because there are going to be a lot of teammates that just use you to help them get on point, and you're gonna win rounds because you're the person that creates space on point, maybe kills one person and then dies, but that's good enough. And you need to identify when that is good enough and when it's really not. Also, just because you have a get out of jail free card does not mean you can play mindless on this character. There is just as much strategy that goes into how you engage as there is with any other freaking character on Jett. And you can only really get so far with the no brain mindless playstyle, and it's going to be very inconsistent at best. And another thing that I would highly suggest is actually put the time in to become someone that is confident in opping. Opping on Jett is one of the best things that you can do in ranked play to climb, especially on defense. It is incredibly reliable, very, very hard to play around. And if you become really good at mixing up the angles that you play on and really consistent at hitting a lot of the easy shots, you're going to be a demon and you're going to win rounds just based off of that. So some people might say op cringe, some people might complain, but really it comes down to them to deal with your op, and you should be giving them that for free. So don't be afraid to abuse what you can, because your opponents are allowing you to do so. Anyways, these are just some of the characters that I think can dominate in this patch, but definitely let us know if we missed any agent that you think is really, really good this patch. But climbing in ranked has never been easier with SkillCapped.com. Right now, we have brand new courses on Jett, Reyna, Brimstone, Harbor, and more. So if you really want to improve yourself very, very quickly and climb the ladder on any of these agents and more, check out SkillCapped in the links down below.